Hi everyone. You'll see in a minute a clip that I filmed earlier today when I was at the library after I picked up my holds. But before I went to the library, I wanted to talk about Salman Rushdie's memoir called Knife, which is a memoir about the aftermath of his attack on, I think it was August 22nd, 2022, when he was at the Chautauqua Institute in New York State, upstate New York, giving a talk outside, and he was attacked. I think when he stood up to speak, went to the microphone or something, and someone rushed him with a knife, and he was almost fatally injured. Really wasn't thought that he was going to live when he was life flighted to a hospital in Erie, Pennsylvania, which I believe was the closest trauma center. I filmed that, and for whatever reason it has no sound. So here I am out in my yard. I figured I would just come out, even though you can't tell, it's like really chilly out here after we had such nice weather, but I thought I would still come out. I don't have the book anymore. I had notes and then I threw them away, and so now I have this crumpled taped piece of paper to talk from. But really, what I wanted to say was I didn't want to talk a lot about that book, because part of the beauty of reading such a difficult story but written by Salman Rushdie is just what you learn and what's revealed, how he places his internal experience after the attack along with other experiences in his life, and he draws lines between them and discovers themes. One of the themes that he discovers, that he talks about, is freedom. How when he left India and he came to the UK, when a fatwa was put on him after he wrote, or after the Satanic verses was written. And so the UK government provided him protection when he was in the UK, and after many years he decided he was going to move to New York City and be free. He was seeking freedom, but it was risky, and he lived there for 23 years before the attack. What he says in that book is he made a decision to live, which ties in with his decision to live as he was fighting for his life after the attack. Yeah, just some beautiful references to literature. Of course, I don't have the book anymore, so I can't read it, but on page 122, there's a beautiful section from Wind in the Willows. The character Mole is coming home after a long time, and he quotes that section when to illustrate how he felt when he was coming home, because he didn't expect he would be coming home. There's an entire chapter called A, which refers to his attacker, his assailant, and it's really cool and very inventive what he does in that chapter. I'm not going to tell you, because it's better to discover it yourself. He also quotes a Raymond Carver poem called Gravy, and it's about Raymond Carver's diagnosis of lung cancer. He was supposed to only live for 6 months, and instead he lived a decade, and he writes this poem called Gravy. In other words, any time after those 6 months is pure gravy, and Salman Rushdie is talking about how he feels now about every day that he's alive. Yeah, there's some really beautiful things that happen towards the end of the book that I'm not going to talk about, because again, it's just so wonderful to discover them yourselves. But I couldn't recommend enough, and it will just easily be the best nonfiction / memoir that I read this year. I've never read a Salman Rushdie book. I feel like I do want to read his fiction now because I was so captivated by the writing. Hi again. I'm in Oakland, and a neighborhood in Pittsburgh where my library is, the main branch, and I had to park on the main thoroughfare, one of two of main thoroughfares, because there must be an event going on. All of my normal parking spaces near the library were taken. So tons of people walking around, lots of buses and vehicles zooming by me. But I wanted to share what I got on hold. What I picked off the shelf, first of all, is I've seen a couple booktuber friends talk about some Rachel Cusk's recently, particularly Arlington Park. There's been a few booktubers, I'll mention them or I'll list them below, talking about Arlington Park for whatever reason. This was written in like 2007 or something, and I was glad to see people talking about other Cusk novels, because when I'm in a reading slump, which I have been, it's a good reminder of, yeah, I can turn to Cusk to try something. One of her other pieces of fiction outside of, or nonfiction, her memoirs, one of any one of them that I've read. So I picked up Arlington Park, and I picked up, just in case, I picked up the Bradshaw Variations. This was written in 2010. I haven't ever read it. Just picked them off the shelf. I'm going to be taking a really quick out-of-town trip next weekend, and I like to have something like a Cusk. Simple, straightforward. I should say straightforward, not always simple, to take along. And then I picked up, on hold, I had this book, this new memoir called Committed, on Meaning and Mad Women by Suzanne Scanlon. I don't know if I'll get to this one, but she's blurbed by Amina Kane and Natasha Trethewey. When Suzanne Scanlon was a student at Barnard in the 90s, grieving the loss of her mother, feeling untethered and swimming through inarticulable pain, she made a suicide attempt that landed her in the New York State Psychiatric Institute. After nearly 3 years and countless experimental treatments, Suzanne left the ward on shaky legs. Wow. It sounds like a good one, but it's not going to be for everybody, so who knows? Who knows if I'll get to that, but it sounds really good. And then I got this new fiction. I had put it on hold. It's called The Alternatives by Kaylin Hughes, if I'm pronouncing Kaylin's name right. And it says, from the writer Anthony Doerr, the Flattery sisters were plunged prematurely into adulthood when their parents died in tragic circumstances. Now in their 30s, all single, all with PhDs, the four lead disparate, distant lives, each attempting to do meaningful work in a rapidly foundering world. One day, the eldest, a geologist, haunted by a terrible awareness of the Earth's future, abruptly vanishes from her work and home, and the others descend to the Irish countryside to search for her. I don't know. Kaylin Hughes is the author of Orchid and the Wasp, which won the Collier-Bristow Prize and was longlisted for the International Dublin Literary Award. And she's also written a book called The Wild Laughter. It sounded good. And then the book that I've really been waiting for, and I'm so glad to have, is Prairie Dresses Art Other by Danielle Dutton. Danielle Dutton is the one of the creators and co-founders of the Dorothy Project. And I read her book Sprawl, which was just crazy, and that's all I can say, and I really liked it because of its craziness. So yeah, Danielle Dutton is innovative, to say the least. This book is sectioned into 4 sections: Prairie Dresses, Art, and Other. And Dresses, I've heard about this. Dresses is a section that is about 66 dresses I have read. and it's fiction. It's meant to be fiction, but she is drawing some from her own life. So autofiction maybe? I'm not sure. So we'll see. It'll be an experience. Christina Rivera Garza and Kate Briggs blurbs on the back. Beautiful book, put out by Coffee House Press. Just beautiful in and of itself. So yeah, that's that for me. Please, I don't know if I really, I have one other book to talk about, which was The Man That Saw Everything by Deborah Levy. Whew, that was a book. It was very confusing. I don't have the right brain today to talk to you about it, but I'll just say that it's one of those books that, like, it starts in 1989 with a guy who's going to East Berlin. He's living in New York City, or he's living in London at the time, and he's going to East Berlin to talk to somebody about some research he's doing, but also presumably to bury some of his dad's ashes, because in this story his dad is dead. And then he's just grazed by a car in a crosswalk, and then it jumps ahead to like 2016, and he's in a hospital bed, and I think it's because he's been hit by a car, but in this scene his dad is still alive. But is he still alive, or is he hallucinating? I love Deborah Levy's memoir series, Real Estate and the Cost of Living and all of that. I have never read her fiction. I didn't get this book. I am not the right audience probably for the book because I just didn't get it. That's all I have to say about that. So I guess I was able to talk about it. Anyway, well, that's that for now. Please join in the conversation about any of these books I talked about, reading slumps in general, anything you want, as always. Please join in the conversation. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you on the next one.